about why the campsites in the Kruger. One would assume it was to keep the animals out. That, however, is not the case. It was to stop the people from spreading. So what happened is that they demarcated a campsite, and then everyone was there. And then, of course, people don't want to camp right next to other people, so, or some people do, and that's a very strange phenomenon, I find. But so then people would try and move them further and further, so out of the demarcated camping site. So they actually just put a fence up to make sure the people didn't spread. Now, talking about strange camping phenomenon, I was doing predator research with the African Predator Conservation Research Organization, APCRO, and my dad's actually on the board of them, and I was volunteering my time while we were catching lions. Oh, Siberia, there we go, that's a bit better for you there. Don't fly. On the edge, yeah, sorry there. There we go, Siberia. Oh, yeah. Crested barbet escaping again. If we go back. So when? Oh, there he is. Okay, got him. Here we go. Slightly better view of the crested barbet for Siberia. Very pretty bird. Sunning himself in the early morning. So I'm chatting about camping, and so I was in Botswana doing that predator research, and it's really long hours, and you work really hard while you're doing it. So we would go out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and often only come back at 6 in the morning, and then sleep for 2 hours, then fix punctures. I mean, we set up a mobile laboratory in the middle of the bush. So what happens with these things, and I've got my tent, so I grabbed my tent and we're moving around the country, moving around the whole northern Botswana. So I would take my tent and march off, and I'd put my tent up far away from other people. Now, I struggle with snorers. I believe that you should be able to purchase a shock collar for snorers, and every time they snore it goes bzzzt. If there's someone snoring loudly, I don't sleep the whole night through. So I try and move myself far away from any snorkers.
Apparently I'm good at snoring.
Are you good at snoring, VM? According to Alex, VM is apparently a snorer, so anyone who can design a shock collar for snorers can be most appreciated. So I then go off to go fix the car, refuel the car, whatever I was doing. And we had 2 veterinary students from the US and a friend of mine from South Africa. And I've purposely, like they started setting up their tents there, I purposely have now put my tent about 100 meters away. And I go do whatever I was doing with the vehicles and whatnot. And I come back, and they've literally circled my tent with their tents. And I was like, guys, what are you doing? It's like, no, what if there's a lion? I was like, well, then just stay in your tent, but please don't come snore around me. So I had to move my tent again, and then they still moved their tents closer to me. Shame. They were a little scared. Now, VM, if you want to know about camping in South Africa, VM is what I would call an expert. VM has modified a trailer that folds down that he can pop up into a canvas mansion with a double bed, fridge, sound system. And what else have you got in there, VM? Supplies for a month, batteries with solar panels to charge. Now, VM is a professional camper. Okay, so we've now checked all the way down to our southern boundary from the north, and we're checking very carefully, very systematically. Unfortunately, we have no sign of any kitty cats or wild dogs. So let's go see how James is faring in the west. Sorry, no, you're stuck. You're back with us, not stuck with us, of course. Back. We are. going through the Mawati River. Now, we know Kruger does move quite a bit, so even though this area has been checked for Kruger early,
Hello everybody. The reason I'm speaking like that, of course, is because it was rather a swift link across. There's a fork-tailed drongo there. I don't think we're going to show you. It's into the sun. You've seen them many times before, most of you. I've always found that it's very difficult to find people who admit to snoring, of course. So it may well be that Brent rails against those that snore, but of course those of us who've spent time, in close proximity to Brent Leo Smith might suggest that he snores. I've definitely been accused of it myself once or twice. I of course deny it flatly. I've never snored. Right, we're going now to Arathusa. We're nearly at the boundary. We'll go and see what's going on there. Many birds going on here at Djuma. But all the lions, after an extended period here, seem to have gone on to Buffelshoek. No one's found them. They're now looking for a cheetah on Torchwood, but no one's found that either. Now, I know Brent did tell you that Shadow apparently killed an impala somewhere around the power lines, which is not too far north from here, and then headed west, quite possibly back onto Arathusa. So that's what we're going to do as well. We'll see if we don't get lucky with Shadow. I must confess, the lack of elephants and buffalo and that sort of thing is rather interesting. There have been almost no buffalo bulls since I got back from leave, and I think that's because there is a bit of water around the place. Now, this fork-tailed drongo, of course, is so close to us that I think we should probably show him to you. I may even take a rank average photograph of him. Drongo, smile for the camera. Of course, I can't actually find him in my camera because my skills are so poor. There we go. Now these birds, of course, are the last to call at night, just about. And they love to imitate the pearl-spotted owl, which we obviously saw earlier. Pinchy Winer's hat. Wonderful question from you about whether or not people ever book private bird safaris to only look at birds. Pinchy Winer, as a hat, when I did a little bit of research about, I don't know, it must have been a good 10 years ago now. I think there's a leopard coming this way. There's a great crunching of vehicles. Pinchy Winer's hat, I will talk to you now. Yes, well, I did some research about 10 years ago. It was globally a $2 billion industry, purely birding safaris. So yes, absolutely, people go purely on birding safaris. The reason I say I thought there might be a leopard coming was there's a great crunching of vehicles in the bushes here. Ah, there's a buffalo. I'm not sure what they are driving out on though. There are a couple of vehicles in front of us there. Everyone, let's just have a look at that buffalo. I'm going to try and get an update from the people on the road here. Stations on the Triple M break between Arathusa and Vultures come in. Copy, confirm they're going into Vultures. some wild dogs there, guys. Said confirm they're going east. Okay, copy, thanks. Confirm many stations there. Okay, copy. I'll go up. Will you just keep me posted if they go east? People, there are wild dogs there. I think it's going to be worth our while to go up. We can't, well, we can go up the road here. We can't go and join the sighting because there are about 68 vehicles trying to get into that sighting. So what we'll do is they could well come across onto WildTV and none of those vehicles will be able to follow them. So we need to be in a position where we can. And there's a buffalo. We'll stop and look at them for a while. Hello, Beefy. So I'm listening to the radio now, everyone, just to find out if they do go east, which of course is to the right of your screen or to the right of this road. And if they go that way, then we're in luck. If they don't, then not so much. Now these are 2 or 3 buffalo bulls of whom I was just speaking, and saying how we hadn't seen them for so long. Some red-billed oxpeckers have landed on them. Let me just go forward. Okay, everyone, I'm just going to stick my head up to the top of the hill here. Sorry, Zander. Because they've lost them, and they could easily just hop across here without anyone seeing them. Lots of impala around. Lots of vehicles around. Everyone gets so excited when we see wild dogs. We did see them yesterday, of course. So what we're going to do, you can maybe just see up ahead there, there's a road that goes off to the east and then cuts up pretty close to the boundary. We're going to take that road. I do hope they come this way, but it's not looking great at the moment. So apparently they're coming this way. So I'm just listening to the radio, everybody. I know it's a little bit frustrating, and it's not the best wildlife experience, but it's worth just making a little sacrifice to see if they don't come across here. So, just to give you an explanation, if you are perhaps a new viewer, if you can just put the camera on those vehicles up there, Zander. No more than 3 vehicles in a sighting. There'll be lots of people that are standing by, is what they call it, which means that they're trying to get into the sighting, and those guys there that are watching the wild dogs, or they're actually waiting for them to pop out there, they will be, it means that there's basically a queue to see the dogs. They're still now on Simbambili. They're basically between Simbambili and Arathusa, and they're not coming across at the moment. But what it means is that we can't kind of push in there and try and get much closer, because we have to wait and see if they come onto Djuma. So Djuma's to the right of this road, and then to the left of the road is Arathusa and Simbambili. And X-Ranger, while we're sitting here waiting, I know it's not the best, but I promise it's worth it if they come across here. You want to know how far away from the sighting you should be to not be in the sighting? There's no real official official rule. The idea, though, is that you shouldn't be seen. But here we're 500 miles away from them, so we're having no effect on the sighting. So were those dogs to pop out onto the road, hang on a second, then we would still have no effect. I can hear some alarm calling. They've lost them there, everyone. They don't have them there. Oh well. There, Impala running across the road. Now, Sandy, a good one from you. While we're waiting here, you say, how do the personalities of the animals differ in areas where there aren't so many vehicles and people around the animals? Well, they differ in that they are much shyer, much more nervous of people. And I was discussing yesterday about even a male lion, which, you know that you can virtually run one over here before it will acknowledge your presence. A male lion, the most confident of wild animals out here, the first time they see a vehicle, they run. They're absolutely terrified of them, so they run away from them. And it's the same story with most animals out here. When they first see a vehicle or they first see a person on foot, they're absolutely terrified. But they do habituate slowly, some animals faster than others, lions particularly quickly. Elephants take a long time to develop trust, but they do maintain that trust as long as it isn't broken. So they do differ. Yeah, I'm afraid they're on Simbambili, everybody. So it doesn't look like they're coming this way. Hello, Shelley. You want to know about the wild dogs in this pack that are suffering from that did suffer from distemper? You know I'm just trying to explain it to everybody who perhaps doesn't know. So it was a big pack of dogs from Lower Sabi that died of canine distemper, and we thought the whole pack had been destroyed, but these 3 have not been destroyed. We don't know how they survived. We really have no idea why they survived, and so it's a really interesting sort of situation. I forget now what the actual question was. Kirsten? Oh, are they siblings? You say, are they siblings? Yeah, they most likely are siblings, yeah. If they've come from one litter. The 2 males will almost certainly be siblings. Whether the female is part of the same litter or not, I don't know. She looks the same age as them. But what happens with wild dogs is that they disperse in separate sex groups, and then they join up with other separate sex groups of the opposite sex, because what happens then, of course, is that the genetic legacy or the genetic depth is increased. But what happens, sorry, there's so much going on in my ear right now. What happens is that with a pack like that, they could well have, been decimated, and those ones could have been in the same litter before they're dispersed. So they could be siblings. The males are almost certainly siblings. It's likely, I think, that they're all siblings together. Okay, I'm afraid that's it from here. We ain't going to see no wild dogs in this particular position, but it might be worth going onto Arathusa anyway, and we'll see what we can find there. While we do that, let's go across to Brent and find out what he's been up to.
We're still searching for... We've actually broadened our search range to anything with a heartbeat. A mammalian heartbeat would be most appreciated. I've even been looking for dwarf mongoose with no success. And I think we're going to meander our way towards the area we started the Sunrise Safari in, There were some elephant tracks around there, so fingers crossed. Maybe we'll find some ellies. Could do with some elephants in my life to brighten my already bright mood. Heartbeat! Impala and zebra, yay! Oh, hang on. Oh, he's going east. Hello, Impalalas. Sorry guys, just listening to the radio. Hello, Impalas. And there's a nice little harem of zebras. I think you guys can see a little one through the bushes. Or a sub-adult. So while you look at the beautiful zebras, I'm just going to be on the radio for a second. So, Orbs, what have you got there? Oh, sorry, it was just lion tracks. I was just trying to see if they were heading back towards Vuyatela. Very close where we had those tracks early this morning. I think this is part of the larger group that was on quarantine last night. Now, if any of you have horses, zebra behavior is very similar to horse or donkey behavior in terms of the signs you look at, whether they're distressed or happy. Oh, they're confused impala making a noise. Such a strange noise for an antelope that looks quite graceful and got a very rutting call. Well, zebras look very happy that the lions have gone to Buffel's Hook. Nothing to chase them about. Yeah, we'll continue on with our original plan, but we couldn't pass up on a heartbeat. Okay. Hi, Amber. Amber is wondering how dangerous is it to track an animal on foot? Well, Amber, it depends on how much you know about animals, of course. I think for all of us, it's actually something we really enjoy. And not too dangerous. Far more dangerous getting into your car and driving to town. That's probably the most dangerous thing we do is driving to the airport or driving into Hoedspruit. Now, if you have experience with animals, most animals don't actually want to hurt you, and even if they're charging, that's normally a warning saying, please leave me alone. So of course there's an element of danger when you're dealing with a potentially dangerous animal. Impala's running, jogging next to us. Where are you jogging to, you lot? They're jogging to more impala that are up ahead. So, Amber, there's always that potential danger when you do get off the vehicle and you start following tracks on foot. But we are armed, or the most important weapon to take with you when you're walking on foot is experience and reading the individual situations. So quite often what could possibly be a very, very dangerous situation, depending on how you react to that situation, can change it from a dangerous situation to a completely safe situation. So I've been maybe in all my years in the bush in truly, truly dangerous situations twice or 3 times. And once with hippo, actually no, maybe a bit more than that, maybe 5 times. And only with 2 different species, and it's been with hippo and elephant on those occasions. So it depends on how you react. So if you run, you're in big trouble. So quite often what you wouldn't think is the way to behave. So an elephant starts charging at you, you start walking towards it, shouting at the elephant. And the elephant normally reacts in the way you want. But again, every situation is different. You can't say this is exactly what you must do. You need to read every situation independently, and quite often a lot of that comes with experience and instinct. Instinctively knowing what to do at the right time, and because often in those situations you don't have time to think. Now, of course, experience goes an incredibly long way, and coupled with good instincts, you should be quite safe out here. Okay, so apparently those wild dogs have been lost, and they might be heading towards Djuma, and they might be heading towards a sandy patch, so I'm going to speed up and head towards that area. Hoppa. Let me just let the other vehicles know. Station 0 port of Mashoa, heading east from Triple M, Wanapa, and they lost them somewhere in that area. I'm on Zoe's now. I'm going to make my way towards Sandy Patch. They think it's a good place to try relocate. Okay, so from VM and I doing the slow morning cruise, there's only one thing that can really get us on the move, and that's the African wild dog, which is of course my favorite animal. And I was even my nickname while I was in Tanzania, Mwamit, the dog of the bush. Because apparently I have about as much energy and is as hyperactive as an African wild dog. Now, while we race like a wild dog towards a potential wild dog sighting, James has got some more equines to show you.
That is the fattest equine I've ever seen. That thing is going to pop fairly soon, I imagine. Very shortly to... Oh, there we go again. Wow, thank you. It truly is, everybody. I'm starting to... it was a bit of a joke to begin with that all the animals relieve themselves as soon as I come into view. Well, it ain't no joke anymore. Absolutely astounding. Anyway, Tasha, you want to know how we age zebra? I'm just going to move off the road because Shunai Wiles Bailey's going past. Tasha, we age them by normally the skin condition. So, for example, this one has got pretty good looking skin. We know they live potentially about 14 years or so, maybe up to 15 or 16. But you can see there that skin condition is very good. The mane looks in good condition. The hair on the tail is full. And so I'd put her at... She is quite sort of bow-spined, I guess. So I don't know. I think she's probably round about... between 8 and 10, I'm going to say. She is a big fatty, though. Rena, yes, that zebra is pregnant. I've used just about every euphemism for pregnancy other than saying pregnant. Yes, by saying she's about to pop, what I mean is absolutely she's very pregnant, and I think the fact that she is not with the rest of the herd is indicative that she may actually have removed herself to, because she's about to give birth. It'd be quite nice to see my second zebra birth. I think that'd be fantastic. All right, we're going to carry on. We have quite a nice sighting lined up, apparently. A buffalo met its end. We don't know how it met its end, but as we know out here, very little goes dead without being devoured for very long. And the buffalo has been found by, well, possibly the Bloffeld's most adventurous scavengers. So we'll go and take a look there. And maybe those adventurous scavengers will be part of our clan that has absconded, we're not entirely sure to where, and maybe they'll be part of our clan. Hello Conrad, you're a new viewer and you say you're enjoying the stream. Thank you very much. You'll say your only problem is you don't really know about the cutting of streams and how they're moving from one vehicle to another. Well, there's the vehicle here, there's Brent on the other vehicle, and then in the final control, the brains trust of what we do, it sits Kirsten and Rebecca. And Kirsten has basically got a whole lot of fancy equipment in front of her where she can see the two feeds, so she can see what we're looking at and she can see what Brent's looking at, and so whatever's best, she will just flick a switch and cut across to whichever feed is best. And then likewise, when the questions come through, so like your question, she's read that to me in my ear. They're sitting in the final control, receiving the Twitter feed and just monitoring all the questions, and so she'll give me the questions that are most relevant to whatever we're seeing at the time. So that's how it works. Lovely to have you with us, and I hope you stay with us for a while, and please tell us where you're from. That's very important, everybody. Well, it's important to me. I love to know where you're all from. Now, I think this sighting is just up here. It is indeed up here. I can see the scavengers themselves. I cannot see them eating, because I think I can see their bellies actually. Now those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, well, I'm sure you've mostly figured it out, but we'll have a look now. This is amazing actually. Seems that there are quite a few hyenas here. Ooh, feeding. I think it is our pals, you know. Sadrach, Eggies. Right. Look at this, everyone. And buffalo that has died, hyenas all around it. I mean, I can count. We'll get in there a little bit later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At least 8 hyenas here. And I think, I don't know this for sure, but let's see if we can recognize any of these hyenas as the ones from our little clan. They are all very, very, very fat. So what we're looking for here, I think, is distinctive adults like Madam, for example. And Conrad, you just, that's wonderful. You say thank you. Well, it's our pleasure, but mostly you say from Kingston in Jamaica. That's fantastic to hear. So, like I was saying, what we're would be looking for with these hyenas, if we can recognize them, is obvious spot patterns. In the case of Madam the matriarch, the mangled ears, or the scar-backed female with her scar on the back. I don't think any of the males are here, if this is our group. But some of you who are really good at spotting or identifying the hyenas of the Djuma clan from their spots may be able to help us here. I don't see any obvious signs actually of our clan numbers. So for those of you who are new, we've had a clan of hyenas on Djuma for a long time, and then about, 4 or 5 weeks ago, they moved their den. We don't know where they moved it. It's not on Djuma at the moment. We think probably on Buffelshoek or on Simbambili, which are two properties we cannot traverse. This is interesting. And from watching the hyenas almost on a daily basis, we've got very little hyena viewing. And I don't think this is them. I don't recognize these ones, but I might be wrong. So what you're viewing there is a real sort of characteristic dominance display by hyenas. Hyenas' dominance is largely maintained actually at a kill site like this, where the dominant females, very strict stratified hierarchy amongst the females and the males, females dominant over males, and it is at these kill sites where the clan will fight over food that hierarchy is enforced. And it's largely a genetic hierarchy. So you inherit your status as a hyena. There's a buffalo cow that died here. Quite astoundingly, this will not ruin the water for the other animals. Now, Bill, all the way from Massachusetts, you're wondering about how long it takes for animals on average to be found when they die. Bill, I don't believe that it would be possible to give you an average that would make any sort of logical, statistical sense, simply because there are so many variables involved. It depends. Where was the buffalo found? Where did it die? Did it die in the open? Was it spotted by birds first? Did it die down in a drainage line, perhaps in the shade, in the cover? It wouldn't have been spotted. This buffalo died near water in the middle of a drought, so animals are going to come past here all the time. Hyenas especially will drink, and they'll come past waterholes to check what's around, and if one of them had found it, it would have probably called a few of its mates, and they very quickly would have come across here. But if that buffalo had died, say, in the thick bush somewhere under cover, well, could easily have survived, uneaten until it started to rot, and then the elephants would have found it. Not the elephants, the hyenas would have found it. Fantastic. Here comes another one down to the kill. I'm just going to move slightly so that you can get a view of them all. Now, Amber, while we move, you want to know if hyenas only steal other prey or if they hunt. They're actually extremely good hunters, believe it or not. So, good morning. Amber, they're actually very good hunters indeed. And in many parts of Africa, they hunt more than they scavenge. And if you look at something like the lions of the Serengeti, for example, Apparently there are many prides of lions there that will scavenge even more than the hyenas will. So yes, in this area, more scavenging than hunting, but we've definitely seen them kill wildebeest, we've seen them kill various things. We've seen them kill elephants sometimes, and, very injured, hurt, and small elephants, very weakened, but they will kill them. Yeah, Chris Rogue, if anyone would know, you would know. You said this doesn't look like our clan. I agree with you. I don't think it does at all. And I think that one eating specifically is one that I've not seen before. Now, I was listening. I went silent there because I was listening to the radio. They haven't managed to re-find those wild dogs. They went east and west, but quite a long way west of where we were looking at them. So I'm just going to give Brent that update. Brent, their tracks going east, but from Southern Fork, and they're on top of vehicle tracks, so those animals went a long way west. I'm not sure if they would have crossed. So, one of the big things about, if you were part of the Napoleonic Wars, for example, and you wanted to, I don't know why I use that as an example, but if you wanted to sort of poison the landscape, if you adopted a scorched earth policy, what you'd do is toss a carcass of an animal like a goat or a sheep or a cow down into a well, and that would ruin the water, right? Now, you would imagine, therefore, that this festering buffalo sitting in one of the last sources of water would be something of a disaster for the animals out here, but it simply isn't. They just manage to cope with it. Their digestive systems are such that they're able to cope with this foul and fetid water. I'm just going to move slightly. I quite like the idea of moving closer to the water, so I'm going to do that. If other vehicles come in, I'm going to move back out again, simply because there's not space for everybody to go down there. So let's just go and have a look and see. I like the idea of being eye level to hyenas. Moina Dean, a good question about hyenas and their territories. You say, do hyenas have territories? Can you level at this angle? Moina Dean, they absolutely do have territories, yes. And they defend them very vigorously indeed. In case of a clan like this is probably part of that Simbambivi clan, which is or Arathusa clan, which is a very large clan of hyenas. Yeah, that's definitely not a hyena, I know. What you find is that the size of their territory will probably be about, I don't know, maybe 3,000 hectares, so just over about 7,000 acres odd. Isn't that interesting? And they'll defend that vigorously. The males sometimes go foraging into other clan territories. Females generally stay within their own territories. So it's the males that take the risks. She's a very kind of, I hate to say this, but evil-faced hyena. Most hyenas are not, actually. Christy, you're in the Great Smoky Mountains. That sounds like a good place to be, especially in the summertime, I imagine. And you want to know about the other scavengers, the avian scavengers, the vultures. And will they Or will the hyenas steal a kill from them? Absolutely. They will certainly kill vultures if they can get hold of them, and they'll chase them off a kill. But vultures are very wily, and it's unlikely they'd be caught. And you see, Amber, this is exactly what I was on about. You say, can animals get sick from a carcass like this, or from drinking this water? And the answer is no, absolutely they cannot. Well, I mean, I guess there must be some cases where they would, but they've just got the digestive systems that are able to cope with rotten meat. And this is not a very rotten carcass. I think this thing was probably succumbed to whatever injuries it was, unless they killed it. I think it's unlikely, though, that these hyenas killed it, but if they did kill it, I think it was last night, and I think it died last night here. It's not smelling at all, so there's no, it's not rotting yet. You hear that crunching? That's the leather. The hyenas are able to digest the leather of the skin. I mean, this hyena is massively fat already. Ugh. She's just looking up there. And what's interesting is that there are no vultures in the sky above this carcass. I find that very strange. Because it's way out in the open, and so vultures should be able to see it. Very quiet now. It's warmed up substantially since this morning. I know that's a bit grim, everyone. Kevin, nice one. You've obviously been watching for a while, and you know, I suspect that hyenas most closely related to cats, but you say, do their footprints look more cat-like or dog-like? Kevin, they look far more dog-like than they do cat-like. And they've got claws, obviously, within the tracks. But they're actually, if you're a connoisseur, if you like, of tracks, or aficionado of tracks, they don't look similar. So superficially, I suppose you might say they look more dog-like, but I mean, if you see them, a cat track actually looks much more like a dog track than it does a hyena track. And that's because the hyena track is very squashed. All of the pads of the toes and the back pad are very close together. You can actually see them pushing up against each other. Whereas on a dog and a cat track, they tend to be much more exploded. The pads are not really touching each other. So the only similarity really is the claws. So superficially, I suppose you'd look at them and say, ah, well, that looks like a dog track because of the claws. I'm glad I'm not going to be having that for breakfast, I must confess. Oh, very nice. Thank you, Chris Rogue. Again, you say we have seen this clan before, but with the dead hippo at Arathusa. I don't think I was part of that sighting. She's distinctive. This one that's eating now is distinctive, though. She's very stocky. Well, she's also very fat because she's been eating for a long time. But she's got a kind of squashed face and a very obvious sort of distinctive color. I think there's another vehicle coming. I'm just going to move back from here. That's because it's not great if somebody comes in with guests and they can't get into the same position as us. All right, we're going to sit here for just a little bit longer, and then we'll move on and see what else we can find. But while we do that, let's go across to Brent and see what he's got.
Unfortunately, our quiet morning continues. Bim and I have just been standing by here listening in case those wild bugs come that way. It seems like they haven't. Unfortunately, no tracks. So I thought I heard some elephants a little bit further to the east of us, so we're going to go have a look in that area. Fingers crossed. Oops, sorry. No, just an update on those lion tracks. Sounds like they killed a baby buffalo last night, and there's tracks coming south. That's towards us. Yeah, let me just ask quickly. Ect. Now, quite often a good set of ears is better than a good set of eyes in the bush. This puts you in the right area. I can only see one at the moment, but there could be a herd here from what I heard a herd. Oh, I'm so funny. Doesn't look too relaxed. You can just see from the behavior, so I've just slowed down. I'm going to pop it into low range, and hopefully as we get closer with our slow movement it'll relax down nicely. Now Siberia is wondering, can we use the fallen trees from the elephants for lumber instead of chopping trees down? Well, I suppose you could. Certain species, a lot of the really good hardwood species, the elephants don't actually push down, and it's a lot of softwood that's not very useful as lumber. We do use some of it as firewood though. Oh, there we go. I thought I heard more. So I said we do use some of it as firewood, but again we try not to take too much out of the bush, because it is home to scorpions and snakes and spiders and wood lice and centipedes and millipedes and borer beetles. So we try not to remove too much, because there is a whole host of smaller creatures that need the trees to be pushed down by the elephant to create homes for themselves. What are you digging up there, madam? Are you after roots or is there tuber? You can just see she's kicking out. Oh no, she's just kicking the roots out, it looks like. Well, let's go a little bit further forward. There's an elephant closer to the road. Look like a young boy. Or was it a young female? I can't really see just yet. Maybe a young female. Ah, young female. Hello, girlie. It's okay. There's the one that didn't look too relaxed, so let's just let her calm down before we move. Oh, there's more elephants behind her. There's lots of elephants around here. Yay! Here we go. Just munch on your sickle bush. So we will move again. I'm just letting her get used to us being close. You can see her body language has changed. She's relaxed a bit. Okay, let's try and move again. Let the engine run. I'm just going to move ever so slowly. Oof, this is actually a massive herd. Here we go. See, we're not so scary. Safari says this elephant looks skinnier than the ones we've been seeing. The backbone really looks to be sticking out. It doesn't look too bad to me. And temples are still fine. It doesn't look too skinny. Maybe she's just a slightly differently built elephant, slightly tall. Young female. And we are going to start seeing some skinny elephants, specifically as we move towards October. October is probably going to be the toughest month for all the animals in the bush, just before the first rains of the season. Although if we keep getting little winter sprinkles, it might last them through to the beginning of the big rains. But while we sit and spend time with this incredible animal, James has got something who's eating breakfast.
I suspect it's more a throwover of dinner than it is breakfast, everybody. And we've just watched that hyena drink this water right next to the fetid carcass and then urinate in exactly the same place. So really their stomachs are profoundly strong in comparison with ours, for example. Yes, agreeing thoroughly with me there, you can see. Otherwise, not much has changed. The rest of them in such a state of corpulence that they can hardly move. Ali, I can't really answer your question. You say, do I think there are hyena cubs nearby? I'm afraid I've got no idea. I don't know where this clan's central den is, but as far as I'm aware, it's quite a long way west of here, which means no, I don't think that there are cubs nearby, because the cubs don't travel to the kills until they're about 8 months old, and then they'll go sometimes to the kills, but most of the time they stay at the den. And they don't travel sort of with the clan until 8 months to 12 months old. I say it doesn't smell bad, but you just get the odd whiff, but it's not so much of a rotting as it is of dirty water, mixed with all manner of sort of toxins, I suppose you might describe them. And they'll probably lie around here till this carcass is finished. As you can see very clearly, they are extremely fat. So if you look at the ones lying down there, one on the left especially there's under. I mean, look at that belly. They've eaten themselves into an absolute stupor. That's normally how we all feel after we've eaten in camp, after one of Amanda's meals. Emmy, you wondering if that... you say, wait. I think probably as an indication of your incredulity, you say, is that hyena pregnant or just fat? I think she's quite possibly just fat. If you look at her, she's definitely got some swollen teats there. They indicate to me that she's lactating. They certainly look like she's lactating, so I don't think she's pregnant in the slightest. I think she's just covering or carrying an enormous amount of meat in her belly.
So right now they won't because they have the dead buffalo. They're busy feeding them. But the hyenas are not very good hunters.
You think we could get a better angle up there?
So you get the sun behind.
Yes.
We're just getting there's another guest, or vehicle full of guests here. Yeah, so Kimmy, not pregnant, just fat. And I mean, I say fat. I mean, fat normally indicates some kind of storage of fat. They don't store fat. You know, very few animals out here are able to store fat, and so she's not fat so much as engorged, just full of meat. So unlike, say, domestic animals or human beings, which store enormous amounts of fat if we eat too much, animals like out here don't. Laurie in Central California, a slightly disturbing question from you. You say if a murder was committed out here in the bush, would the animals eat it? And before the authorities got here? Well, Laurie, I don't want to ask why you're asking that question, but the answer is absolutely. The animals would happily eat a dead human being. Hyenas, lions especially, they would eat absolutely happily eat dead human flesh. Whether or not they would wait for the authorities, I think would depend on the efficiency of the authorities. So out in South Africa, you'd probably find that they'd get away with it, devour the human carcass long before the authorities came anywhere near. That's certainly one of the more interesting questions I've ever been asked. Thank you, Laurie. Don't want to know why you asked it. Alright, let's head back across to Brent Leo Smith and his elephants. I think we're going to leave here, if you don't mind, everyone, just simply because I think we might be lucky with either Shadow or perhaps those wild dogs. So let's head off from here. Wonderful sighting that we've had. And we'll hand you back to Brent Leo Smith and his large giants.
We're still with the same female. She has now become completely relaxed because we just sat quietly with her. And she's busy munching on a veritable bush willow. So the rest of the herd is very spread out. It just always amazes me how dexterous they are with their trunk. How they're able to manipulate and move their food into the correct position. Did you hear that? Just a little rumble, communicating with the others. I've been watching carefully. There's some females and babies, and I think they're moving through the bush towards Gallagher shortcuts. So this is quite a big herd, so there might be some down there already. And also, of course, there's some water down there, so maybe some of them might be already at the pan. So we're going to go have a look there. And if they're not at the pan now, they might be there in the next 10 or so minutes. And hopefully James does have some shadow luck. And unfortunately, I think Kruger is still down in the south, so well, she might come back during the day. Now, since we've just seen elephants and we're hoping to find some drinking next, I've got a quiz for you. Where exactly are the largest elephant tusks in the world? Where are they from, and where do they currently reside? Where are the largest, the longest and heaviest elephant tusks ever recorded? Where are they from, and where do they currently reside? If you know the answer to that, questions@WildEarthTV is the email address to send your answer to, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Where are the largest and longest elephant tusks ever recorded from, and where do they currently reside? Okay, so there was some moving through here, so I'm going to try to get to the pan ahead of them. Can you see any through there? Maybe not. Let's have a look. Are there any tracks? Oops, here on the road. And if they're not there, they're on their way there. And just a few more updates on the Nkuhumas. They did kill a baby buffalo, so it's already finished. They finished it overnight, and their last tracks were heading south. There are no tracks that come out onto Djuma yet, but hopefully, who knows, maybe they'll move during the day, so we'll definitely check around there on the sunset safari to see if those lions make an appearance. I wonder what else could be down at the Gallagher Pan. Now, we're hoping for, what are you hoping for, VM? VM's hoping for leopard. I'm thinking maybe buffalo, hopefully elephant, but if VM is correct, I might do a little dance for joy, a jig. Now, it's seldom that we go a whole morning without seeing one set of leopard tracks. Maybe they're all safely tucked up in the middle of the blocks with a kill. Okay, as we come around the corner to the pan, there is unfortunately no elephant, no leopard. Well, it was worth a try. And let's carry on. It's always a good area to look for all sorts of things. I could even find it in Nkuhuma lioness, the one who's still got those young cubs that she has to return to feed. So she meanders around, and we suspect her current den site for those cubs is in this area. And Yankee Girl is wondering where Benjamin Button is. Well, he's in the bush somewhere. That could have easily been his herd, but a lot of them were very spread out. And this is where those male lions were roaring from last night. I'm just trying to see how they... Hang on. No, and they went straight north. So where we found their tracks crossing was almost directly opposite us now. I was just hoping there might be one male left over. Well, there could have been two male tracks. I might have missed the second track crossing. Especially if they made a kill. The males, even if they weren't with them, would have heard it and shot off in that direction. Hello, Mr. Fire Sky. Mr. Fire Sky would like to know whether lions have the ability to kill elephants. They do. Not an adult bull or an adult cow, but sub-adults, yes. And in certain parts of Africa, and specifically in the Chobe, Savuti, Kwondo region of northern Botswana, there are prides of lions that have developed that skill. And they'll target elephants from about 12 years old to 20, and it does take an incredibly long time for them to do it. It can take up to 7 or 8 hours to kill an elephant. I have actually been lucky enough to see that happen twice, and it is quite a heart-wrenching thing to watch. But yes, they do have the capability of taking down an elephant. Oh, spider webs. Morning Glory says the largest elephant tusks ever recorded were from Tanzania. That is correct. And they're at the Tanzanian History Museum. That, however, is incorrect. They are at the Natural History Museum in London. So there's quite an interesting story that goes with those tusks. They were shot by an Arab slaver / ivory hunter by the name of Tipo Tip. He shot them on the foothills or below Mount Kilimanjaro. He then gave those massive tusks, I think 230 odd pounds a side, he gave those tusks to the Sultan of Zanzibar. The Sultan of Zanzibar then gave them, oh, this is so bumpy here, to the British consulate, who was based in Zanzibar. They then hung outside the entrance to the British consulate for many years. And when the British consulate left Zanzibar, he took them with him and gave them to the Natural History Museum in London. So quite a fascinating story that goes along with the largest elephant tusks ever recorded. Now, a lot of the next largest elephant tusks ever recorded are from this low fault of South Africa and the Kruger National Park. There are some massive elephant bulls in this area. Hopefully some of them come for a visit soon. While we will an elephant with massive tusks to come visit, let's go see what James is up to.
I just went for a little walk, everybody, and we did actually see some elephants. Well, I saw some elephants. They're in this very thick block, and I'm afraid we're not going to blast in there after them. You've had a nice elephant sighting with Brenty, so I had a nice elephant sighting on me own on foot, and they didn't see me, which was very pleasant. Just thought the reason I went for a walk was we had a grey go-away bird going quack, quack, and sometimes that's an alarm call. It was round about where you had the update from Brent earlier, where the Shadow killed an impala, we think, that was stolen by hyenas, and it was dragged around here somewhere, and we thought her tracks were heading back in this way. Cedric said the same thing, so I was just thinking maybe she was on one of the termite mounds here, but I didn't find anything other than the elephants. So, no leopard thus far, no sign or sound or smell, mainly, of wild dogs either. But we might be lucky in the last few minutes, well, the last 20 minutes or so. See what else we can see. Hello, Amoy Nadine. You're interested in black leopards, and you want to know if we find them here. Answer is possibly. In other words, it is possible that some might occur here at some stage. Do we see them? No. Do I believe there to be any in the Sabi Sands? No, I do not. And that is simply because they are not adapted for this particular landscape. A black leopard, which is the same species of leopard, everybody, is simply much more well adapted to forested areas like the Congo Basin or the jungles of India, for example. That's where a black leopard would thrive. But they have been seen up around Leidenberg. Now, Leidenberg, there are forested areas around Leidenberg, and it's basically in that direction up onto the mountains, and another sort of 60 miles or so you hit Leidenberg. And that's basically, there have been 1 or 2 records of black leopards there, caught I think largely on camera traps, so not actually seen like they are seen here. In fact, there are very few places in the world where you can come and view cats, especially leopards, like you can in the Sabi Sand, where they are as relaxed as they are here. This is one of my favorite little glades. Let me stop here and appreciate this little glade for a second. Do you like this glade, Eggs?
Yes.
Yes, it is a beautiful glade full of tambuti trees. And this one above us, an nkahuma tree, or a brown ivory. It's lost its leaves, hoping for spring, which will be very shortly. No leopards seem to be wandering through my favourite little glade at this stage. That's very artistic of you, Eggies. Eggies is from Cape Town, of course, which makes him immediately attempt to be artistic at all times. Rachel, you say you keep hearing different names or different pronunciations for the names of the animals out here, and you use the example of Shivambalana versus Shivambalan. And you want to know why that is. Well, it's basically because few of the... Sorry, there was a leopard-shaped piece of termite mound here. It's just because people are not au fait with, sufficiently au fait with the local languages to understand how they are said. So, let's take Shivambalana, that's a good one. Shivambalana, the correct pronunciation is Shivambalana with the A on the end of it. But if you hear a Shangaan person saying it, to the untrained ear it might sound like Shivambalan. It isn't. There are no Shangaan or Zulu words that end in a consonant. They all end in a vowel. So if you hear any Shangaan or Zulu word that is said with that is not finished with a vowel, you know it's been incorrectly pronounced. So it would be, if you were a Shangaan, you might say Shivamalan, and it sounds like you've ended on the end, but there's actually a very slight A, Shivambalan. Shivambalan. See that? And that's why you get the change. And there are lots of names that basically that have been given by white people in an attempt to not an attempt, as a sort of through a mishearing of the language. Even the word Shangaan. Shangaan is incorrect, and that's, people will say that the language people speak here is Shangaan, but if you hear a Shangaan person say it, they'll say it Changaan, and Changaan, there's a very slight A on the end of it, and so, yeah, Shivambalana is the correct way, Shivambalan is not correct. And it's just because of a lack of familiarity with the local languages. That's all it is. Right, now, do we go left or right? I think we go left. For the wild dogs were last left in this block near One-Eyed Pan, which is a pan on Simbambili, which is we're not allowed to go to. I have been there by mistake twice. But we won't go there by mistake today. Alright, let's go and get an update from Brent while I go quite quickly up this road and back on to Djuma.
Now this is another area we think there might be a lion den. I want to see if I can see where that bird is looking. I can't see. There's the grey go-away bird. So she did have her den here last week. I'm just going to pop my vehicle to the edge of the cliff here. See if there's not a lion. It's in an excellent position to not be seen by us. See, it's very upset. It's very steep here. It could be a leopard down here, you never know. Okay, let me just have a quick peek. Always use your ears. It's a massive cliff, so there's an undercut here. Could be a really good place for a lion den. Probably about 9 meters. Nope, no luck. Worth a check. So I think we've got enough time for one more brain teaser before the end of the sunrise safari. And you two make me get out of the car. Oh, what's going on? It's telling me to go away. Cheeky bird. Very aptly named bird. Go away bird. Okay, so we're having a bit of a gremlin issue here, so we're going to jump back on board with James quick.
There was a little steenbok there, everybody. Unfortunately, it has absconded, run away into the bushes, lacking courage, lily-livered. We were talking about language just now, and oh, there it is, there. See on top of the tree there? It's a raptor, everyone. That's not what we were talking about. It's not what I was going to talk about. But remember the lizard buzzard, everyone? That's what it sounds like. Death from the sky, as Brentley Smith said. Well, there is death from the sky calling now. I don't think I can recall seeing 2 lizard buzzards in one drive before. Amazing. Also, you know, I'm taking the binoculars, and I'm going to ask Xander to just pan up into the sky, because with his bare eyes he's not going to be able to see what I'm looking at. And you can see vultures everywhere in the distance. Can you see them there? No. But keep zoomed in over the top of the, and just change the focus a bit and see if they don't pop into view. No, sorry about that. But there are lots of them there. I can see them with the binoculars. But we got a very nice shot of the blue sky there, Xander, don't you think?
Yeah.
It was a very pretty blue colour. Promise you get there. Now you can see them coming into view. Can you see them now? Flying over the top of the tree.
I see them.
Here come the vultures, everyone. Just in case you didn't believe me. There are two of them calling. There's one behind us.
Yeah, but now they're going.
It's almost impossible to focus on them, hey, because you've got no kind of distance on them. Anyway, lots of them flying in now, starting to get warm. And they're just finding the thermals to fly around in. Yeah, don't worry about them. Let's have one last look at the lizard buzzard, and then we'll move on before death hits us from the sky. Yeah, there are two or three of them calling. Very nice. Thank you, death from the sky. Let's move on. Start making our way back towards home and some coffee and seeds. Also been doing a first aid course, everybody. Ooh, we're really close to this lizard buzzard. There we are. Super zoom in. Oh, look! How cool is that? There he goes. He looks a bit faster than his mate from earlier on. Very nice. And a very nice query from you, because I don't really know how to answer it. You say, where are all the snake eagles? I can't remember the last time I saw a brown snake eagle. So a very good query. I don't know, the answer is. And you say you'd love to see them carrying snakes. Quite like to see them carrying snakes too. Not many snakes about at the moment because the temperature ain't so fly for them. So they're largely down in termite mounds trying to stay warm. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Brent's got something quite special to show you. We'll see you this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Until then, thank you, Zander, and goodbye.
Well, it is quite special. There's some red-breasted swallows. So we've got a juvenile, which is the one in the middle, or in the center of frame, and two adults either side. And I'm hoping, how I found them is they were calling. They've got a very cool call. Well, them stretching their wings, getting ready to go hawk for insects. Come on, one more call. They were calling quite frequently. So we're just going to listen. Come on, guys. Don't get shy. Wings stretching, basking in the sun. They are very, very pretty little birds. Bit of wing preening. Okay, well, we're causing a traffic jam. Let me just move so all we can get... Oh, there it is. There's the call. Do it again. Oh, it's very, very distinct. Very swallow-like. Quite a few swallows have a very, very similar call with slight nuances. Now let's just move so all we can get past us. Okay, so there we go. Red-breasted swallow. Now, we've got one last little quiz for the morning, and it's a bit of a fun one. And it is, what is James Henry's favorite bird? Now, it's small, quite nondescript, but has a beautiful singing voice, a bit like James. So if you know what James Henry's favorite bird on Djuma is, you can let us know, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV for your answers. I'm wondering what wonders await on quarantine. Hopefully something we haven't seen yet this morning. Vim, what do you see apart from the hornbill in the road? Oh, apparently you've got some wonderful screenshots of those swallows. That's great. It's not something you get to see nicely quite often because they're often on the move, on the fly, on the flutter. Wow, I was hoping that it warmed up. There might be some nice herbivores or grazers on quarantine. And it seems devoid of life at the moment. Or devoid of mammalian life. Oh, Siberia, you're not as helpful as we would have liked, but another crested barbet. Let's see if we can get a view from the other side. Oh, well done, Anna-Marie, Gretchen and James Richard, spot on. The small nondescript bird with a beautiful voice, which is James's favourite, is the white-browed scrub robin. And James also does an incredible mimic. He's an incredible mimic of the white-browed scrub robin. He can whistle that tune perfectly. I, of course, if I attempted, would butcher it. So I'm not even going to try. Okay. So we're coming towards the close of the Sunrise Safari, and it's been wonderful having you with us. The cats were a bit quiet on the safari, but that's how it goes. This is the African bush. We are live. We can't open the cage and let them out on demand. But good to hear the Nkuhumas had a meal last night. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed that we are going to get some leopards moving during the day and hopefully come on to Djuma. And as I say, we're very lucky to live out in this absolutely beautiful part of the world and get to do something we love and take you guys on drive with us twice a day, every day. So the Sunset Safari will be starting in a few hours, and I know myself and the rest of the team can't wait to do it all again with you. So from all of us, while we go feast on some breakfast, hopefully if it's too late, I hope you get some sleep. Bye.